don't want to go to school.
Oh, you're going, and you will like it.
Fine, I'll go.
We are great parents. Agreed. What's for dinner?
I wonder what store I got this big bad toy from. Could it be Big Bad Toy Store? With a huge selection, flat rate shipping, and their pile of loot function, if you're looking for big bad toys, go to Big Bad Toy Store. It only makes sense. Okay, people, today, well, first, let's get the whole wave in frame. Today, let's take a quick look at the Hasbro Marvel Legends Void Wave. Now, this was one of those waves where, at first, I thought, well, I only need this one and this one. And then, as time went on, it was, okay, maybe that one and that one. Oh, man, do I need this one and this one? And at that point, you might as well get the whole wave, right? You have most of a Build-A-Figure sitting there. Just go for it. Even though I don't know a lot about the Void, it's interesting looking. And when it comes to action figures, I like interesting looking. We're going to be talking about Black Panther. There's Justice and a bright-ass light. Namorita is hiding back in the back along with her cousin Namor, looking all 90s. Vision's also cloaked in shadow even though he was high on the list, but he had to go behind one of my other big wants, Crystar. I don't even know a lot about Crystar. It's just a badass looking figure, which I can say the same about Power Princess, who finishes off a team and just looks like a fantastic female action figure. The art on the side matching each individual character. It's not consistent. It's not the same artist doing all of them. On the back is bigger pictures of each with a little bio that I'm just going to scan across while I'm still talking. You can pause it if you want to read the backs. And I'm running out of stuff to say. But there's that. There's Namor. And then there is Justice. Below is a checklist, the wanted posters along with each piece for the Void. There's your warning, your small parts, your don't put them in your mouth, please. On the other side, same artwork, just reversed because it's the other side of the package. Top, there's Marvel logos and Black Panther, and I'm guessing this is Squadron Supreme or something. Keep knocking stuff off the table. I'm gonna have to do something with these heads. On the bottom, legalese, barcodes, and I think I'm gonna start off with Namor. Okay, I'm kind of surprised here. I didn't read a lot of comics in the 90s, but I remember the covers with Namor like this. I guess passing through comic shops or whatever. Getting him in action figure form wasn't the highest priority, which is why I'm looking at him first. I figured, you know, let's get through this figure and get to the ones I really want to get to. But I'll be damned, I'm really liking the design here. Just the golds and the greens and the blacks and the hair. Hasbro did such a good job with this hair and this face. The shadowiness around the eyes, the sideburns, the mustache, the little hint of beard, and then that just works with the hair. Oh, and then the eyebrows, the signature Namor eyebrows, and the pointy ears. But it throws me off. The wild look, the magnificent hair, just... And now that I get super close up, is that Chris Cornell? 90s. Another iconic feature of Namor are the scaly green trunks. He has them on over the black spandex. But for some reason, it totally works. I know a lot of people are like, we need to take the outside underwear off our superhero costumes. And I agree in some instances, but then when it makes a comeback or, you know, unexpected places, I'm kind of like, looks pretty good. Plus it gives it that hint of green. The gold I thought was gonna really annoy me, but it adds some regalness to it. Along with some ocean-faring design work. The spike sticking out the back with the big one up top and then the shell on the front of the belt. And then you get down here and it's the same thing. Very ornate, very nicely sculpted with some prongs sticking out. Then the last iconic Namor feature are the wings on the ankles. He can walk, he can swim, he can fly. He does it all. I do like that there's continuity here because it reuses the body of the previous Namor. Here's your classic, here's your 90s, and it looks like the same guy, different hair and different armor and such. The bracers seem to be shaped to the forearm, so it's a bit tough to turn them because my first instinct is to bring them to the outside so the spikes are more visible in neutral stance. No, it's round. You can put them anywhere you want to. Okay, I went back and looked at the promo images, and it is supposed to be like this. And what's neat is they still have the sculpt from the classic Namor bracers on the forearm, and they've put ridges on the inside of the overlays. You could put them like this, or like this, or like this, but as soon as you push them onto that, they're kind of locked in. They're hard to turn, so they should stay like that. Plus that makes sense because then the guard comes down over the hand. So yeah, it just makes for a way more interesting silhouette. Speaking of overlays, the belt is a separate piece and it does a good job of hiding the waist joint, but it likes to drift off to the right side. I keep having to, it goes back, but once you do this, it just kind of gets out of the way. But speaking of moving joints around, there is a hinge at the top of the neck with the ball going up into the head. Now you can already tell there's a lot of hair, it's going to get in the way. There's up, there is down. These are kind of soft. Some tilt and then left and right as far as it'll go. Pin coming out to the shoulder rotates around, hinges up, swivel at the bicep. Double elbow comes up until the gauntlet hits it, and that kind of gets in the way of the swivel and hinge at the wrist too. Hinge mid-torso, crunches to there, arcs back, swivel at the waist. Ball coming out to the hip, kicks forward, little bit of back, and then hinges, not that great. Swivel at the thigh, double knee comes up, oh, so close. Hinge at the ankle goes back and forward, and then front-facing pin for rocker. For accessories in the package, Namor comes with 2 fists, comes with 2 flat hands for swimming or flying, and then there's 2 grip hands, which come in handy if you want to use the trident, and it's just as elaborate as the armor pieces. It's not quite the same gold, maybe because this is all detailed and stuff, and this is kind of flat so it reflects the light different, but still, that is Namor's trident. And look at that, that's just kingly. And since we're dealing with water, let's do Namorita next. With Namorita, this is definitely not my mental image of the character. I'm very much a first run of New Warriors kind of guy, so my Namorita was Namor in female form, essentially. Had the regular skin tone, had the green scaly bikini, had the wings on the ankles, and then blonde hair. That was the biggie that separated the two. But now, having this in hand with the blue and everything, I kind of like that they moved her away from just being a Namor clone. Apparently this is from a later version of New Warriors, right before Civil War or something. I should have probably done my homework, but I didn't. The white markings on the blue skin is very, very striking, and it looks like Hasbro's done a good job of getting all the tampos pretty clean. I don't know what any of these markings are supposed to mean. I'm guessing it's Atlantean of some kind, but it stands out. You put her on a shelf and there's not going to be any question. Oh, yep, that's Namorita. The white hair blends a little too much, I feel like, and that's just me griping about something, because there's white here, there's white on the markings, there's white on the costume. I do like how the red stands out though, because I mean, yeah, there's blue. Red's gonna, hey, there you go. She's got some cuffs over the wrists and some fingerless gloves. And then, like I mentioned, the wings down on the ankles. And is it just me, or is the photo reel getting better and better? I think for a little while it was in decline. It was like, wait, what's happening here? It's kind of fuzzy, it's kind of dirty looking. It may miss the mark in places, but here, oh man, I don't think I could ask for a better face print. The darker blue lips, again, more white markings. The eyebrows, again, Namor, pow, right there. Pointy ears, same thing. It's just a good looking figure, even with, okay, I'm not going to claim to know all the base bodies when it comes to Marvel Legends these days, but I am assuming that this is pretty standard. Although, she's got double elbows, so it's one of the newer bodies and pinless. I did have a little trouble with the ankles out of the package. This one was tight, it's loosened up a bit. This one, it looks a little out of shape. See how the opening for the disc right there is up and over and down like a rectangle. This goes up and then angles down, almost like it's melted or out of place, but look how tight that is. And that's also getting the feet in the same position so she can stand fairly easy. It takes a minute to get the balance straight, which, I mean, that's a standard action figure thing, but it seems a little more difficult with this figure. So of course it took me an extra 2 seconds this time to stand her up, because my figures are that way, just divas. I'm usually not the biggest fan of windswept hair, because you put them on the shelf and then the character next to him with long hair has it just straight up and down or something, and you're like, where's that wind coming from? But getting her and Namor at the same time, it's given me kind of an idea for an underwater diorama of some sort, and then have them floating with acrylic rods or something. I'm not saying submerge them in water and leave them there. I'm just saying, you know, a background, maybe some fish tank accessories, and just have her floating. Going over articulation, there is a hinge at the top of the neck with the ball going up into the head. Can look up, look down. Not bad tilt. Left and right. Pin coming out to the shoulder, rotates around with a hinge going up to there. Swivel at the bicep. Double elbow all the way up. I guess because the hand is a unique sculpt with the fingerless gloves and the extra detail, it only has a swivel at the wrist. That's weird. But okay. Dumbbell joint mid-torso, crunches forward a bit, arcs back, tilt, rotation, just all around. Ball coming out to the hip, kicks forward, goes... that wasn't back that far. It kind of scooted around the sculpt. It goes back about right there. And then hinges all the way out. Winner of the wave so far. Swivel at the thigh. Double knee comes up. She can wing. Oh, no, she can't kick her own ass. Hinge at the ankle, goes back, goes forward, and then front-facing pin for rocker. For accessories, she comes with 2 fists, and those do have hinges, I guess, because those are reuse of older hands. But they don't have the detail of these, so these will probably stay in there forever. Sticking with New Warriors, of course we're going to do Justice next. For me, Justice falls into the same category as Namorita. I'm not near as familiar with this look as I am with his Marvel Boy look, but this one isn't quite the leap. This is more of an evolution of his costume look. You look at this and you think, oh, okay, that is Vance Astro. The body is reuse of the old tried and true Scarlet Spider, or I think I usually call it the Sunfire body. The bubble muscles at the bicep kind of just on both sides, and the duck feet, where it comes thin and then real wide, kind of long, kind of narrow. Same chest, same crotch piece, same legs. Again, well, it's hidden by the cape a little, but you can see these muscles stick out. So this body is bubbly, I like to say. Also, I don't know if it was the package, but the legs come down and then widen. Each leg goes out at the knee instead of going straight up and down. Going back to Scarlet Spider, though, his turned in, so maybe the knees have always been a problem on this body. But I'm going to attempt to heat those up, see if I can get those to stay in position. That softened it up a bit, and it shouldn't take too long to cool. It's only 7 degrees outside. The head sculpt is also very, very nice. It has that youngness that I usually associate with Vance. But more than that, it is one hell of a hair sculpt. It's messy a little bit, but it also, again, it adds to the youthfulness. Ears stick out of the cowl. It's one of those headgear things that do nothing to hide your identity. It just looks cool. But I'm not griping about that. That's comic book costumes. I love that kind of stuff. The cape is not soft at all, and that seems to be a running thing through this whole wave. You start forcing about right there, and it just goes right back into position. Don't get me wrong, it is a nice sculpt with this flow coming down through here and the wrinkles and everything. It looks very, very nice, but it's not going to get up and out of the way. What I really, really like here, and that's something I wish they had done with the rest of the wave, is the cape is integrated into the torso. Wrinkles coming up over the shoulders, and whew, what's going on? How's it attach? It's magic. No, the seam is where the white ends and the blue begins. It appears to be a shelf sculpted into the torso, and then this is just overlaid and glued down. That does wonders for the silhouette. It makes it look like one complete costume, but it does add into the stiffness. One, this is really stiff. 2, with it being like that and glued down and part of the neck, it's not going to do anything. The rest of the costume details are painted on. The gold here, the gold on the logo, the blue and the stripe, and then the white coming down to the crotch piece, and then the gold around the top of the boot. What have they done with this? It looks like a dumbbell joint at the top of the neck. Looks up a bit, not much down. It's probably because the dumbbell is sunk way down into the neck and there's not enough plastic missing around the top. Does give it some tilt though. But Dad, I don't want to clean my room. Pin coming out to the shoulder, rotates all the way around, and then hinges to about right there. Swivel at the bicep. Double elbow comes most of the way up. Swivel at the wrist with a hinge in and out. Crunchticles go to here, and then arcs back, and then there's a cut at the waist for swivel. Ball coming out to the hip, goes to there, and back, and out. Oh, nope, not quite. Swivel at the thigh. Double knee comes up and kicks his own Astro. Swivel at the boot. Hinge at the ankle, goes back, goes forward, and front-facing pin for rocker. For accessories in the package, he comes with 2 fists, and then there's 2 emotive hands, or reaching, relaxed, something. Let's go ahead and open Black Panther. I thought this Black Panther only had different overlays to make it look more like the Christopher Priest run, but that's not right. Well, it does have that. It has the gold here to the collar, and then the belt coming around in pointies, and the claws around the wrists, and the gold in places, but it's more than that. I could have sworn that the body was just going to be a reuse of this Black Panther. This was in a previous Build-A-Figure wave and uses the Vulcan body, and okay, here we go. I think, as far as I can tell, some of the limb is reused, especially the gloves. See the grooves? Also, the clawed hands are the same. They're just painted different. Get down to the boots, it's those same grooves, and then the ninja toe. Seems like the legs are reuse, and maybe the upper arms? It's hard to tell. Maybe, maybe not. The big difference, though, are the torsos. I know it's black plastic, it's kind of hard to see, but the Vulcan body, the pecs are kind of narrow, and there's not as much taper. Here, this has much more definition to it, and the abs are different, and then these come out a little further, the muscles under the arms. It's not a huge difference, but it does add a little bulk to it. And then I do believe the head sculpts are the same too. Also, for some reason, I thought this was Killmonger at first. My only exposure to him during that time, or around that time, was in Deadpool. Didn't Killmonger get the mantle of Black Panther at some point and then force his way onto the Avengers? Something like that. But then I remembered Killmonger's Black Panther costume had bones and stuff. And this was T'Challa. Plus it says T'Challa on the back of the package, so I kind of cheated there. The eyes are painted gold, and it's easy to think that it's a messy paint job because it kind of bleeds into the eye socket, but I think it's meant to be that way to kind of simulate a glow, maybe? I think. And then the cape is longer. It's flowing, but like Justice, it is not the softest material in the world. It doesn't have a lot of flex to it. Then the collar's kind of weird. The front of it is parallel with the face. Like, he can come out and then look around it a little bit, and all of the gap is back here. And at first I thought, oh, well, you just take it and put it forward, but no, it doesn't work like that. It has this peg in the back, and then, of course, the hole in the back. If you line that up, the cape does exactly what I just showed. It comes back. But then I realized, oh, it's Black Panther. If you crouch him down into a Black Panther stance, he has no problem looking up and around. So maybe that's why it's like that? Or maybe that's accurate to the comics I haven't read in 30 years. Maybe. Going over articulation, there is a hinge at the top of the neck with the ball going up into the head. Looks way up and not bad down either. Little tilt and then left and right. Butterfly joint at the shoulder goes forward and back. Pin allows the arm to rotate around and then a hinge goes to there. Swivel at the bicep. Double elbow most of the way up. Swivel at the wrist with a hinge in and out. Hinge at the abs goes forward. Back, the cape does not help at all. Cut at the waist, and these are a bit rubbery, so no problem swiveling. Ball coming out to the hip, goes to here, and then back, and then out. Nope, Namorita still takes it. Swivel at the thigh. Double knee has no problem kicking the king's ass. Swivel at the boot. Hinge at the ankle goes way back, and then way forward with front-facing pin for rocker. For accessories, Black Panther comes with 2 clawed hands, and then there's 2 fists with those lines sculpted in to match the gloves. Oh, finally. Vision. We were just talking about the Vulcan body, and that is what Vision uses. But I haven't decided if I like it or not. We've gotten a few Visions throughout the years, and they've all been skinnier. They've been bulking up as we go. But is this bulky enough? He seems to be the best one I've gotten so far, so there's that. After the Squadron Supreme, Hyperion came with that girdle piece overlay for the mid-torso, making him look exactly like he did in the comics. I wish they would have done the same for Vision here. Vision number 6 or 18 or however many this is. That and the point of the boot painted on the top. At least here it doesn't break, you know? Well, not as bad, I guess. Got the diamond painted on the chest. Oh, and then we're gonna run into that same thing at the wrist. Oh, I forgot that's not an articulation point. That's for when the arm is swapped out with a glove of some kind, so it'll lock onto there. As is, you can see the seam line, but it doesn't move. It's glued down. But really, going back to the classic comics, that's what Vision is. A guy in a bodysuit with a unique cape and a unique head. And have we ever gotten a bad Vision sculpt? If I remember right, every one of them has been amazing. I think I used the hell out of the first one for customs for a long time. Just the stern face, everything. He looks intense. This, along with the costume line going around the head, is sculpted on. I think that outweighs my nitpick about the bulkiness. And really, he's bulkier than the one I've been rocking for a while. Now that I have him out, though, that metallic green is tasty. But there's something to be said about, well, it's not matte. It has a sheen to it, but, ooh, that darker green. And I don't think the sculpt on this one's bad. It's just the paint there on the eyes. It looks a little wonky. But we do have another cape-wearing character in this wave, and like the other two we've seen, stiff material. It doesn't flex. And okay, it bends, but right back to position. And I realize that's how most capes are. You can't pose them around. You can't take most other Marvel Legends capes and do this and it stays. It's just that I like them to be a little softer. Although it will always hold this shape, so that's pretty cool. But there's also a brittleness here. This is all that's holding these two halves together. And as you saw when I was unboxing, I was warned to be careful about that. Don't just rip on it where you're pulling on the figure and the cape is stuck in the package, or that will break. That's why, as you saw, I cut a Vision-sized hole into the tray and pulled him through instead of the cape because it's wider. But it being this stiff, and again, having that peg in the back that plugs in, if you get that into position, the cape is gonna float above the shoulders a bit, and I don't like that. I want it to be down. And when I do that, the cape's sticking out. And again, it's heavy, so boop. So maybe that'll be a Playday type thing. Snip that peg back there, do some strategic gluing, and maybe get the collar down where you can see more of the head, where it looks like he has a neck. I just realized the butterfly joints were kind of forward. If I take them and move the shoulders back, that gives him a little more width, bulks him up slightly. Okay, well, not just because of that, but the more I sit here and stare at it, look at it out of the package, this is Vision. This is my Vision. Articulation-wise, there is a hinge at the top of the neck with a ball going up into the head. Looks way up, and then you can get here, shift a little bit, look down. Some tilt with left and right. Like I showed, butterfly joint goes forward, goes back. Pin coming out to the shoulder, rotates around. Gotta kind of miss the cape with a hinge that comes up to there. Swivel at the bicep. That pin seems very thin right there. Double elbow all the way up. Swivel at the wrist with a hinge in and out. Hinge mid-torso crunches down very far, and you get the look to it, and then there is some arc back. Swivel at the waist. Pin coming out to the hip, comes up and back and out. No, still don't take it. Swivel at the thigh. Double knee comes up and could probably phase right into his ass. Swivel at the boot. Hinge at the ankle goes back, goes forward, and then front facing pin for rocker. For accessories, Vision comes with 2 fists, and then he has 2 emoting hands, 2 relaxed hands, 2... Here's my Vision. Ooh. I can't stand it. Let's crack open Crystar. Sweet! Crystar blends right into my background. He's almost invisible except for red shorts, red gloves, and red boots. Oh, and don't forget about the red on his helmet. And getting this close, yes, that is a separate piece that's almost a softer material in clear plastic. That is amazing. You can see the ear under there. And since we're here, facial features. There's a nose and a mouth, some eyes. It's amazing. Those crystal facets, the angles right there on the cheek, see the light reflecting? That is very, very cool. And that continues down onto the body. All I can do is rotate it and let you see the light reflecting off the different planes. There it is, a flat piece right in the middle, almost like an arc reactor to make a Tony Stark Iron Man reference. But yeah, it's not super noticeable until you get up on it. Same thing down at the arms. I don't know why I'm talking. You can see this, right? Look, just... I think that's the longest I've ever been quiet in a video. This is attached to the belt piece, and it's just another piece of translucent plastic. Got some cool diamonds on the front, up at the top of the boots with plainness under. And in fact, that's almost necessary, right? Just some cuffed boots, some shorts. I feel like if there was more design work there, it would take away from all this, and this is really the focus. The elbows, I guess because they're a different material, aren't quite as clear as the rest of the body, and maybe the knees. Yeah, they're more opaque than the harder plastics. Like I said up front, I don't know a lot about Crystar. I remember this character more from ads in other comics than his own comic or toy line or whatever he had going on. But the more and more I looked at him in action figure form in Marvel Legends, I thought, you know what? That is just too good to pass up. That's gotta be in the display somewhere. Oh, well, hell, bow. There are seam lines running down the back of the boots, and then I noticed, yeah, there's also a seam up at the top of the gloves. I don't think I'd want to see parts of this used for Iceman. It'd be interesting to see, don't get me wrong, but I'm thinking more Martinex for Guardians of the Galaxy. Maybe. The body is a little buff for both those characters, I feel like, but, right. Never stopped us before, right? You can see the innards a bit, which usually when it comes to clear plastic, you can see the pins coming through and everything else, but the sculpt on top and the way the light hits it does a fantastic job of obscuring that. Especially at the legs. There's big old pins coming down in here, but because of the kaleidoscopiness of the sculpt, you don't notice it. You can't see it. Aha! Chiseled good looks is what I should have led off with, right? Articulation-wise, hinge at the top of the neck with a ball going up into the head. Can look up, can look down. Tilt. And of course, there's left and right. Pin coming out to the shoulder rotates around with a hinge that, like I said, it's 7 degrees outside. The cold is really messing with me when it comes to plastic tonight. But I think that was more of that trench catching on the torso, and I had to push down a little bit, get it to go. Swivel at the bicep. Double elbow, the glove cuff does get in the way. Let's try to bend the bottom joint first. Okay, you can get a little bit more range when you get it shoved down in there. Swivel at the wrist with a hinge in and out. Hinge at the torso, crunches down. That diamond does get in the way. It pokes right there. But there is arc back, and then a swivel at the waist. Ball at the hip comes up, and little bitty back, and oh, we have a contender. Judges? Oh, that is damn close. Neither of them go exactly 90, but swivel at the thigh, double knee, and oh, now that I have it at this angle, you can see the disc there, but that's okay. Kicking his diamond hard ass. Hinge at the ankle goes back, goes forward, and then front facing pin for rocker. For accessories, he comes with one right fist and one left flat hand, but you're gonna need these grips if you want to use his kick-ass accessories. There is a shield. It's right there. See it? Pretty basic, has a grip on the back, there's some sculpt work, the lines going out and then an edge around it. But then he has this crystal sword with the cool 80s shape to it. And yes, there is an up and down hinge for a weapon wielding hand, so he can do this. And then last but definitely not least, Power Princess. And I think I said it way back, but Power Princess was my most anticipated. I think most of the budget went to her and Crystar, and I am okay with that. Everything is sculpted on here. The top of the costume, the gold up here, the belt coming across, the gauntlets. Is that a separate? No, that's part of the forearm. Yeah, it is. Okay, at least the black part of the gauntlet. This looks like it's glued on. And then the top of her boots are separate pieces too, but I do believe they are glued down. Yeah, you can see the seam around the inside, but they ain't going anywhere. They are in that position. There is a high heel sculpted on there, but I haven't had too much of a problem getting her to stand up. Oh, is the collar even sculpted on? Again, a little extra detail goes a long way. And that catches me off guard because my brain usually goes to what else can a new body be reused for? And in this case, well, I guess I could take those off, but can't take those off. That would be a whole new upper body. And then this would be a whole new lower torso, the top of the arms and the top of the legs, maybe? That is not me griping about extra sculpted detail, though, because if you look close, this could have just been a skin-tight bodysuit, but there's actually wrinkles sculpted in. Just a little stretchiness to add a slight bit of realism to it. And then the head's also not going to get a lot of reuse because of the tiara. The hair has some curliness to it, whipping off to the side, and then kind of an angry, not Amazon look. And again, just some fantastic photo reel. But most of all, this is a larger female figure. You put her up next to your standard Marvel Legends female, and it has some hide on them. So all that together makes her very unique, very specific to this one character. Maybe there is somebody else that she could be reused for that I'm not thinking of. Maybe a She-Hulk villain of some kind. I just know that I appreciate the hell out of her for being Power Princess. Going back to the golds, the overlay pieces, like here and down at the boots, you do get a little swirly twirliness. It's not super noticeable like when we see a whole figure made out of the stuff, but it's just enough to separate it from the painted gold parts. It's just a slightly different shade, but not enough for me to go, oh my god, it's terrible, get out of my collection. Going over articulation, there is a dumbbell joint at the top of the neck, but we already see there's a lot of hair hanging down. Looks slightly up, looks more down. Tilt. Where's Batman? How about Superman? Pin coming out to the shoulder, rotates around, and then a hinge goes up to there. Swivel at the bicep. Double elbow comes up past 90. Swivel at the wrist with a hinge in and out. Dumbbell joint mid-torso gives quite a bit of hula hoop range. Ball coming out to the hip goes forward and not much back, and then another contender, all nice range. Swivel at the thigh, very tight. But that's okay because it makes it one of the most unnoticeable cuts in a leg that I've seen in a long, long time. The knee comes up, the boot does get in the way. There is a swivel at the boot, so maybe this is sandwiched in between there. Hinge at the ankle goes back, goes forward, and then because of the heel, the pin goes more up and down than forward, so it's a twist, not so much a rocker. For accessories, Power Princess has a right fist and a relaxed left hand, and then she comes with two grip hands that will probably stay on the figure because, well, okay, I guess you can leave the relaxed hand for the shield because it's a clippy on the back. I've just been putting that over the gauntlet. That overlay piece does a nice job of holding it on, even if you don't clip it all the way onto the arm. But if you want to go ahead and clip it all the way down, it goes around the wrist. But you are going to want a grip hand for the sword. There's another touch of red on the gold to call back to here to match everything up. Oh, she looks badass just standing there. Then let's build the void, or this pile of gummy worms. That's the sound I think of when I look at this for some reason. The left leg goes on the left hip. Therefore, the right leg goes on the right hip. Oh man, cold weather is killing me tonight. Pop in, left arm. I'm begging you. Right arm, plug. Yeah. Ooh, the head has a solid yellow insert to shine through the translucency of the rest of the plastic, giving it those eyes and that mouth. For the back tentacles, there are shapes to the pins, kind of a rectangle with an angle on it, and then this one has an R in it. I'm assuming that means right. Same thing for the other side. There's an L, and it seems like at first they just kind of set in there, find a sweet spot, and there's a pop to it, so they stick in. And then these have a big old peg. Big part goes up top. This goes on the right side. There are tabs that hold that in there, but the tops aren't near as secure as the bottom ones. But they do hold up to regular posing and play, I guess. And look at this convoluted sumbitch. I take back the gummy worm thing. This is more like fishing worms. You know, you're going through the tackle box and there's always about 15 of these in the bottom. And I'm sure they said it at some point during a live stream, during the reveal, something, but this does reuse the limbs of the movie Venom. The toes give it away. As soon as I saw them, I thought, you know what? I already have those in my collection somewhere. It's the complete arms and the complete legs. But because of these inner crab leg things, they had to take away the hinge down in the abs. The dumbbell joint right there in the middle, you can get some crunch and some tilt and stuff, but because of the mess on the back, they just kind of run into each other. There and here and arc back and oh, crunch. Oh, that was way further than I thought it'd go. Whoa, that is intimidating. I'm looking at the screen thinking, whoa, am I psyching myself out? What's going on here? I like this way better than I ever thought I would. Let's look at the crazy sculpt to it. How detailed that is with the little pieces coming off and the wrinkles and the crustacean look. Oh, that's another giveaway for the torso being new too. There's these little nubs up here on the shoulder. I know it's not a big deal, but that's different from Venom. Did I forget about the head? Oh, it has some things coming off it too, like scorpion tails or something.
Where are the Teen Titans and Raven?
Wait, that's Trigon, isn't it? But I get that same feel from it. Hasbro, this is impressive. I know it's not the biggest Build-A-Figure ever, but it's got some heft to it. It's got some weight. How easy is it to balance this thing? Oh, look at that! First try. I swear, that was not set up. There is a dumbbell joint at the top of the neck. Can look up, can look down. Best tilt of the wave. Looks left, looks right. So hard to grip while moving things around. I almost feel like if you want to pose it up, it's easier just to take these off and then do the pose and then plug them back in. Maybe. Pin coming out to the shoulder rotates around until you run into something, and you are bound to run into something here. Hinge at the shoulder comes up, swivel at the bicep. Double elbow comes all the way. Swivel at the wrist with a hinge in and out. Dumbbell mid-torso, the arc back doesn't really work, but nice crunch with some twist and some tilt. Ball at the hip comes forward and then back and then out, running into swivel at the thigh. Double knee, hinge at the ankle goes back, goes forward, and then forward facing pin for rocker. Plug these back in. Oh, okay, there was a pop that time. Maybe because I had them in for a little bit. But, oh yeah, there you go. For accessories, there are 2 fists, and then there's 2 clawed hands, which I'm not sure if I'm going to use or not, because that's just adding more points to all these points. So many stabby points. Look at that, though. That's pretty neat. Get him backlit, or lit from underneath somehow. Sorry, Crystar, you're a little too clear for this. And I officially dubbed thee the Shelf Space Killer Wave. Size-wise, Namor stands at 6 5/8. Vision stands at about 6 7/16. Crystar's about the same, but then the wings on the side of the helmet come up to about 6 3/4. Justice is about 6 1/4 to the top of his hair. Power Princess is about 6 5/8. Black Panther is 6 3/8. And then Namorita is slightly over 6 inches tall. Then the void up to the top of his head is 7 7/16. At the widest point is, good grief, 9 inches. Here's Namorita and Justice with other new warriors. Kinda. You could also use them with other Avengers. And then here's the new Vision next to the, I believe, the retro-carded Scarlet Witch and retro-carded Vision. Here's 90s Namor next to himself, and then the 20th anniversary Captain America. Atlanteans back together, and then here is the Black Panther from this wave. Next to the previous Black Panther, that's very similar in size, and then I don't remember where this one came from, but it is on the Bucky Cap body. Bringing the Avengers back in, just in case you want to put them there. And then, of course, Power Princess goes with Hyperion and Dr. Spectrum. I don't have that other 2-pack yet. I need to get that. And then look, I did find the Sentry body. For some reason, the left leg is longer than the right. I don't know. Either way, the void isn't as big as I thought he'd be next to this figure. So at the end of the day, a very solid wave of Marvel Legends. It's not necessarily a wave full of, well, necessary figures, but it does throw the fun factor in. Like I said at some point during this review, this is not my Namorita, but I'll be damned if the figure itself, the design from the comics, didn't kinda win me over here. I will still take the original version from the first run of New Warriors, but this definitely went up a few ranks in my book. Same for Justice. I want that Marvel Boy version. We have the Vance Astro, which I can't find, but this is just another one of Vance's costumes. It works. Namor's another one that shot up a few tiers after I got him out of the package. Grungy. That's just the best way to describe this figure. Grungy. And there's nothing more 90s than that. Black Panther is very, very cool. I don't think he's gonna take the place of the one I did comparisons with, the more classic version with the gray boots and the short cape, just because that's more my Black Panther. But this is definitely pretty sweet, especially if you were into that comic run. After some consideration, Vision does take the top spot for me, just because he's bulkier and it's a better overall presence. But again, boy, the capes in this wave could use some work. Power Princess was a priority. I believe I said that too at some point. I'm not a big Squadron Supreme guy, but I love Hyperion, so I got that set, which gave me Dr. Spectrum. Then that other set released, and now Power Princess. Is this the quickest we've ever got a full team from Hasbro? That right there is worth picking them all up, and I will be getting that other 2-pack. But it turns out Crystar is my favorite of the wave, just because of the sheer awesomeness that comes along with this figure. The translucency, the sculpt, the way the light bounces off and tickles your eyeballs. My only experience with him was comic ads, but that is just enough nostalgia to make me happy. And that's what I'm looking for, a little happiness. Which is honestly what the Void brings, another surprise hit. I don't care about Sentry, I don't care about the Void, but I got Sentry, so it's nice to have a beautiful, can I say that about this figure? It's a beautiful action figure. I already said it was a solid wave, but I'll also say it's surprising. I'll reiterate, I wasn't in for this whole wave, but I am glad I got all of them, just because of how they all turned out. Special thanks to the sponsor of this video, Big Bad Toy Store. If you're interested at all in individuals or the whole wave, links are in the description. And that's it. Oh, yes, I was fiddling with the microphones throughout this whole video. In fact, I think there was 2 when I started, and then I kept messing with the sounds. So if it's kind of funky, that's my fault. I think I've finally got it set up, hopefully. In fact, I'm shooting this as a test to see if the one mic setup is gonna work, but I guess we'll find out. If not, I apologize. Still working on things.